Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. When we're talking about culture, really what we mean is the standards and pillars of your program, how you guys are going to show up every day. So walk me through that for your program.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit. I'm going to go back to, I know Don Meyer said it. I don't know who originally said it, but pornography is hard to define, but you know it when you see it. And that's kind of how I feel about culture. I tell you, another big influence on me would be my father-in-law, my wife's dad, who was a great, he was a great football coach, and he's still alive, but he's been retired for a while now. But so when I was in college and we were dating, I would go to his practices and I would be in the locker room at halftime, and I thought he was just outstanding. And he still is a great mentor for me. But he would make statements to me like the coaches that always talk about how disciplined they are always the most undisciplined. So
I love that.
I thought about that. Like, that is interesting,
Yeah.
So I don't use the word culture. We don't talk about it. We don't define. But what you just said, pillars of expectations, definitely. Like, that's where and I think it starts with the broken window theory that, if you want to clean up a bad neighborhood, you better get the broken windows fixed first, even though that seems unimportant. So that clock's going to be running when the bell rings, when they get out of class, and I think they have a 5-minute passing period. And then, so we put 8 minutes. They got 5 minutes to get to the gym. And for some of them, it's a long ways.
Yeah.
But everybody's going to be on that court ready to start drill one when that 8 minutes hits zero. And then we're always, so like little things like that, I think, we're going to be on, they know, okay, like they figure out pretty quick, like being on time is important to him. And when somebody isn't on time, there's a consequence and there's going to be a comment made about that being an act of selfishness. So I think in enforcing things that are important for kids to learn, not only for your basketball team, but is beyond that. I think you just like it's got to be important every day. And then just, we're going to talk, we're going to have we're going to give a great effort. It's always going to be pointed out. We're never going to look the other way when we think a kid's not giving us his best. And we're going to I'll try to start practice with drills that are fast, but we start practice every day with the same shooting drill every day. It takes us 7 minutes. They get a lot of shots and they're moving a lot, and they have to get it done in 7. It may only take us 5.5 on a good day.
Could you explain the shooting drill, please?
I will. It might be everybody's got a ball and they're in 2 lines underneath the basket on the lane lines. And I got 2 coaches up top, and the first guy in each line's firing a pass to the coach and getting it right back. And they have to make 21 shots in a row as a team as they're rotating through. They're changing lines, so they're shooting the other side. They got to make 21 in a row right there at the basket. They're just catching it and sticking it in. So, usually that's pretty easy. Then we move back, above the block. So that could be like a short bank shot or whatever, but they got to make 3 sets of 7 in a row. And then they're moving up mid lane, 3 sets of 7 in a row. And then the white volleyball line for our white volleyball lines. I know it's probably not the same on every floor, but kind of above mid lane, 3 sets of 7 in a row, elbow, 3 sets of 7 in a row. And then on the sides of the top of the key. They have to come straight up the lane line. So everything's on the move. They're having to fire a pass. They're going to get quick reprimand if they throw a bad pass up there to the coach. It's got to be on a rope. He's going to zing one right back, and we teach square in the air. So they're coming with their back to the basket, and they got to catch and land ready to shoot. So then they have to make 7 in a row, just one set of 7 in a row when they get to the 3. Then they're breaking out to the wings after they get the sides of the top of the key. And then the corners twice, 2 sets of 7 in the corners, then back up to the wing, then back up to the top. And they got to get that done in 7 minutes. And so it adds pressure, a lot of talk, a lot of movement. Because, if you've made 6 in a row, that next kid that shoots.
Oh, yeah.
It's like he feels like it's a game winner.
Yep.
So I love that drill because I think it helps create that flow state to reconnect back, because they get really focused doing that, and they feel some pressure, and their teammates are depending on them. And so we'll start that way, and I think it helps set the tone.
Yeah, that, to your point right there, I love that shooting game, or I think the nugget maybe is see what drills that you're doing. I don't care what time of year, what drills are you doing, and ask, does this contribute or follow the standards and pillars that we have? Or I wonder, the question is, how many things do we do in practice that are really taking us away from, maybe there's a good skill aspect to it, or a specific situation we want them in. But if it's not, like I love what you said about being on time. To us, we have a standard of excellence. Like, we want not perfection, but we want to try to be excellent. And to be excellent, you can't be late to something.
Right.
You go into class 5 minutes late, if the rest of the class, you feel like you're behind. And so if you start with that excellence piece, but that drill also, there's excellence there. There's toughness. There's all those standards that you have. I think that's something we need to do, is look at our practice plans, and even the things that we love, how can we incorporate our standards within it?
That's a great statement. Yeah, you want everything, those standards embedded in everything you do.
But it's easy for it not to be, right? Like, yes. Hey, now we're doing this. Okay, now switch your gear. Yeah, I understand different ideas and offense, deep, whatever, but standards, pillars, all throughout.
Yes, and I can't remember who I heard say this. I think it was on a podcast at some point, but he just made the comment that a lot of coaches do things because maybe that's what their coach did, or that's what they've always thought you did in practice, without ever questioning, why do we do this? And does this relate to how we play, or to what happens in a game? And so that's something I try to do. And I try to, I don't believe, and I realize I'm wrong in this, but I don't believe in stretching. I hated stretching.
You're not wrong, coach.
So I just believe in getting them moving and getting them sweating. And then after that 7 minute, or hopefully less than 7 minute shooting drill, then, they're warmed up, they've been moving, and their body temperature's up, and then we're just going. And I think by doing that, we can constantly emphasize our standard of guys being locked in and guys giving us maximum effort. We don't expect mistake-free, but we expect maximum effort. We tell them if it's something you're spending time on, you need to pour everything you have into it. And if that could be many things in your life, but right now it's basketball, we're in practice, so you're going to give everything you've got during this time.
Coach Driscoll, my senior year, I played for Dave Bliss for 3 years, and so he had a certain way of doing things. And then the new staff came in, and Coach Driscoll was an assistant, and he would have us start in zigzag, like live one-on-one zigzag, right at the very beginning of practice. And I'm used to the 15-minute, movement prep, stationary, like old school, and I just, maybe at that point let him know I wasn't really happy with this or the change. And he said, listen, if a dog is laying on the front lawn and a car goes by, it just sprints after it. It doesn't have to stretch. And I thought, okay, first of all, what are you comparing me to as a player? But I love the idea of, okay, Brian McCormick. If guys haven't read his ebook, Fake Fundamentals.
Fake fundamentals.
Fake
Okay.
Fundamentals. It's an ebook you can get on Amazon. It'll, like, a guy like you, coach, you'll love it. Things like 3-man weave, running the mile. He's all these things that he says we've just always done, but closing out with choppy feet, like tons of stuff that it really, again, if it guys like, I think so we want to challenge a little bit of what's been. That's what drew me to the Grinnell style of playing. I don't think you can replicate it in high school. I tried that and almost got fired. I don't think it, but there's a brilliance to it and a purity, but it's outside of the normal box that that everybody wants us in. So that, I think you'll enjoy that.
I wrote it down. False fundamentals, Brian.
Fake fundamentals with Brian McCormick, and I was able to have him on, and I tried to get him to pull a little bit more from some of those, but fun talk, and but no, that was really impactful. I appreciate you sharing some of those things that you do, but I think also maybe it helps us to speak less, because you mentioned early on the guys that talk about discipline a ton maybe struggle with it. The guys that talk about culture and have to have a culture talk every day, maybe it's not there, or we're trying to force just phrases onto our guys that look good on a t-shirt. Nothing wrong with a good t-shirt every now and then, but these standards you're talking, it's just, guys, it's who we are. It's how we breathe. It's how we move. It's how we flow. I like that, Coach.
Yeah, I think you could, and I know a lot of guys do this, and this is not me, but you can talk about overarching, culture ideals you want for your program, but then you have to point those out and, praise or correct them in everything you do.
Nice.
And to me, it almost makes the culture talk a little bit irrelevant, because you're just talking about it. You're not putting it in practice. It's the practice of what you want your team to look like. Does it look like a successful organization or an unsuccessful one? And we know what success looks like and what it doesn't look like. I think Dean Smith, and I love this, like his 3 rules, I think, were: do what I ask you to do. Might have been 2 rules. Do what I ask you to do it when I ask you to do it. And if you're not sure what I want you to do what you think I would want you to do. And so I thought, well, now that's pretty simple. Instead of having 28 rules written out, like, do you think I want you to be 30 seconds late for practice? Is that what you think? No, you don't think that. So don't be it. And so
Coach K's question of, sorry, you get me excited, so I just jump in. I apologize.
No, you're great.
Coach K's rule of, whatever you're doing, ask yourself, is this good for the team? Golly, you can take that. When you get subbed out, is storming to the end and acting like a baby, is that good for our team? Being in the back of the class and disrupting, is that good for our team? Friday night after the game, like, that just takes care of so much, and then it allows you to not be in a box by a rule. Right. If you're late, you don't play. Like, what if, Coach, what if your best 3 players get behind a wreck? And
it's going to happen at some point.
Is that the hill, Coach, that you want to die on? And
not me.
Not me. Not me.
Because there are things that happen.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing, too, is just honesty. You can tell when people are telling you the truth and when they're not. And
frequency of excuses. Frequency. Yeah. All right. Like, this is the 8th time now that you said you've had a migraine. I don't know. I've never had a migraine. I've heard they're bad. So I'm not in any way, I believe it's a real thing, but it's like, man, But the eighth time, okay.
Yeah.
Is it just a headache? But I think the frequency, I probably got some people mad right there with that comment, but the frequency of it.
And I'm also a believer, and I try to explain this to our players too. And I think they understand, but really the world does run on credit. And I mean, not just in the financial markets, but people build up credibility. And, you have built up credibility with a lot of people. And so they're not going to be upset with you for saying something about migraine headaches. And
I was just kidding.
Yes. But players,
Yeah.
We explain that too. I mean, players do the same thing. I mean, you're always on time. You're always there. You're obviously a very dedicated and committed player. Then all of a sudden one day, you walk in and you tell us something happened that caused you to be late. Well, your credibility probably goes a long ways there. And because we feel like you're being honest about why you're late. So for instance, if a kid tells me on a Saturday morning practice that has built up a lot of credibility, if he runs in there late and says, "Coach, sorry, I just overslept," then I'm going to say, well, okay, I appreciate you being honest, get some towel pushes and let's forget about it.
The towel pushes, Coach, is the greatest consequence ever. Because I don't want to take it. I always tell my players and parents, it's the best. And it's the only form of consequence or punishment really that we do. Because if you go slow, it's painful. And if you go fast, it's painful.
Yes. Yeah,
I don't care.
And no way around it.
I don't have to watch you because you got to get down there and then you got to get back. And it can take you as long as you need. I can continue to focus on my own.
That's correct. And but yeah, the credibility aspect I think is huge, and I want kids to understand that. I mean, I'm going to mess up as a coach, or as a teacher, and if my superiors feel like I have a good line of credit with them, then it's not a big deal as long as you're honest about it.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.